So my 2-year-old daughter caught hand, foot, and mouth disease for the second time in 6 months from her daycare, and I wanted to show you what it looks like, and I wanted to tell you how I managed it at home. So on day 1, after she woke up from her nap, I noticed that my daughter felt really warm. So I checked her temp and she had a fever of 101. So I gave her some Tylenol and I just let her rest and made sure she was drinking a lot of fluids for the rest of that evening. So on day 2, she had absolutely no symptoms. Everything was just completely back to normal, but my antennas were up because I remembered her course of illness when she had hand, foot, and mouth the first time. And I knew, okay, there might be something brewing here and it might develop on day 3. And it did. She developed a rash. It started to form on her hands and on her feet. On day 3, I just noticed these little flat red bumps. And I said, oh, okay, here we go. So day 4 is actually when it got really bad. Really, it was day 3 in the evening when she was trying to rest. She was really itchy, tossing and turning, scratching her legs against the sheets. She was super uncomfortable. So day 4 was when it was at its worst. I'm talking itching, scratching all the time. We really had to get pretty aggressive with the treatment. Day 5 is when the rash actually started to crust over and the itching started to subside. So it didn't last very long and she started to feel just a whole lot better. Her appetite came back. She was just playing around like normal. It actually was really hard to keep her away from her baby brother, but somehow I managed. Okay, so day 6 is actually when the lesions actually started to fall off. So they crusted over the day before and then started to fall off on day 6, and then day 7 she was completely back to normal. So let's take a look at some pictures of what it looked like. So the rash isn't exclusive to the hands, feet, and the mouth. It can also develop on the arms, legs, the torso, and even the groin and buttock area as well. It can appear as macular or flat, or vesicular, which is fluid filled, or both. So one of the first things that I did at home to help to ease some of the itching that my daughter was experiencing was I gave her an oatmeal bath. I didn't use super hot water, just warm enough. I actually had some oatmeal in my pantry already, so I used that. And it really did help to ease some of that itching that she was experiencing, just temporarily, but it did make her more comfortable. So I picked up this anti-itch cream from the pharmacy. Next, of course, calamine lotion. It really does help to soothe the itching. And then next was the children's Benadryl. Now, I use this very sparingly because, you know, it causes the drowsiness, but it did help to relieve some of that itching. Anyone that has a toddler knows just how difficult it can be for your kid to stay still. So for my 2-year-old, it's impossible. There's no way she's going to sit still and just let the anti-itch cream kind of do its thing. She would be all over the house, the anti-itch cream would be all over the floor, and the product wouldn't be able to work. So I placed gauze pads on top of the medication, and then I put her socks on top of that. The reason that I put the gauze pads there is so that the cotton and the socks wouldn't just soak up all the medication. So this worked for us. I definitely recommend this if you have an active toddler like I do. So this is what I did to keep the calamine lotion on her hands. So I let my daughter rub it in on her hands, and then I placed gloves on top. I did the hands portion of things just before nap time because obviously my daughter, you know, she plays with her hands, she uses her hands all day long, and she was getting pretty frustrated with the gloves, and it seemed to work really, really well. When she woke up from her nap, I just took them off. If the itching was still bad, I gave her some Benadryl later on in the evening. My baby is very silly and she prefers her medication to be squirted in her mouth straight from the syringe. So look, we got to do what we got to do out here. So here's a quick update on how my daughter's rash looked on day 6. On her face, the rash did crust over and started to fall off, and there's some areas of hypopigmentation there on her face, which ultimately did clear. And as you can see on her feet and on her hands, the rash is still visible, but it's no longer itchy, and it looks like the areas are a bit darker. So let me know if you find any of these tips to be helpful, and I will see you on my next video.